Hey guys, it's Pete from Pete from Anxiety here. Welcome to today's episode. I appreciate y'all being here so much. Let's talk about a few things real quick. The Pete vs. Anxiety Team Anxiety Facebook group. Are you a part of it? You're not? What are you waiting for? The link's down here in the description down below, or go to Facebook and search Pete vs. Anxiety. Then look for the Team Anxiety team page and join it today. Why not? You can join and help. It'll be great. Yeah, like right now. Hurry up. Stop what you're doing. Pause this video. Go do it right now. But anyways, let's also talk about the Pete vs. Anxiety YouTube page. If you're here right now, you're probably following it most likely. If not, head on over there, subscribe, be sure to like and comment on the videos and let me know, because all that stuff really helps, guys. I really appreciate it. And help me break the stigma that mental health is talked about enough. But anyways, guys, let's get into today's episode. I'll have a great one. Thank you so much again. And as I always say, don't ask how your day is. Ask how your mental health is today. Welcome to an exciting episode of Pete vs. Anxiety here on the Oracle Talk Radio Network. My guest today is the first person with schizophrenia to bike across Canada and the founder of MindAid, the one, the only, Matthew Dixon. How you doing, Matthew?
Great. Thanks so much for having me on today. This is wonderful.
That's awesome. And also, by the way, Matthew is actually a good friend of our good buddy Darren Elliott, who's on here before too. So, hey, even better. So, Matthew, let's just jump right into it, man.
Sorry, I'm just getting over the tail end of the cold, but I'll be fine. Sorry.
No, you're good, man. Let's get right into it. Schizophrenia and you biked across Canada, dude. That alone had to be that amazing, just sightseeing in general. What made you want to do that, though?
I've done it twice, actually. I did it when I was 20, and that trip came out of nowhere. I dabbled in some sports like a lot of people as a youth. You know, I played some golf, soccer, volleyball, curling, badminton, but I didn't really consider myself an athlete. You know, I wasn't training for anything. And anyway, this trip came out of nowhere. I just heard about it and decided to call. Actually, it's kind of funny. My mom, the year earlier, had clipped this article about the trip. It's an organized trip. It's called Tour de Canada, and they go across Canada every year. Except the last 2 years, they're looking for someone to take it over because the owner is in his 80s now. But I heard about this trip in the newspaper, and I saw the article my mom had clipped out for me, or my mom or my dad, and thought, oh, this is that neat. But you see these things all the time. People rowing across oceans and climbing mountains, and oh yeah, that's neat. Anyway, I put it in my drawer and never thought about it again until a year later. I pulled it out of my drawer and thought, maybe I could do this. And within minutes, I was phoning the number. I mean, back in 1991, there was no internet or email, so I phoned the number and asked for more information, and it just kind of snowballed. You know, they sent me a packet of information about how to do the trip, and they said if you want to reserve a spot on the trip, send in a bit of money and reserve a spot. And then it just one thing led to another, and that's what I try to tell people, is that you don't have to do everything all at once. Just one small step, just to start and keep starting.
That's awesome, though. How many days did it take you to get across, though?
So the first time I did it when I was 20, it took, that trip, Tour de Canada, they go from the last day of school to the first day of school because a lot of teachers want to do the trip. So about 2 months, 10 weeks. The second time, when I did it again in 2023, when I was 51, I went the whole way across Newfoundland. So it took about 3 months.
Dang, that's pretty. Dude, that had to be amazing, though. I've been to Canada, but I've only been to like a small portion, like the Thunder Bay area, because I have family that live there. But it's a beautiful view, though, man. Like, I loved it.
Oh, Thunder Bay is gorgeous. Oh yeah.
And
it's like you're on the ocean.
Right? It was amazing. But biking across, man, dude, that had to be amazing, though. Like the sights, the sounds, the fact it's just so quiet when you're out there, and a lot of people aren't used to that, because where I'm at, I'm in the States. So like there's so much noise everywhere. But once you get to those parts where there's nothing there, the absolute silence is so blissful. People don't even know. I suggest to many people, I'm like, you just need to go out to where nothing's at and just listen. And when you hear nothing, even better, because it's just like, oh, you don't have to have all the noises and everything like that. Now it's just like, it's horrible, though. But so that's so cool, man. Like, and you did it twice, though. That is amazing, though. That's an accomplishment in its own, though. But
thanks. Like I was in a unique.
No, you're good. Go ahead. I'm so sorry, I cut you off there.
So I was in a unique position. So like after I did the first trip, like throughout university, I was feeling some symptoms creep up, but I didn't know what they were. I didn't know much about mental illness. I know a little bit about mental health and psychology, but I didn't know about depression or anxiety or bipolar or OCD or schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Those weren't, I never heard about that stuff. I heard about schizophrenia, but knew nothing about it. And anyway, I was still doing things. I was getting mostly A's at school, worked a summer job, paid for all my education. I didn't have to get a student loan, biked across Canada on the university rowing team. I did a triathlon. But these symptoms, mild-ish, I guess you could say, they all came. They all when my disease hit of schizophrenia, it hit hard, and all of a sudden one day I said, I don't feel good. I've started having thoughts of ending my life, and thought that's not good. So I went to get help, and that was how I got into the mental health system. So that was 1994, and then it took a long time to get better. But I got on a medication. I'm still on it today, and I noticed a weekly improvement in my mental health every single week for like 27 years. And then one day in 2021, my symptoms. Yeah, so I'm not cured. I use the word successfully recovered. Actually a guy with schizophrenia. He either has schizophrenia, but he has done a lot of research into schizophrenia. And he sent me this World Health Organization article that said 30% of people with schizophrenia globally have complete remission from their symptoms. At least 30%, it said. So there's an article that used to be online. I can't find it anymore. The head of the Schizophrenia Society of Canada sent it to me years ago. And it was like the 7 myths of schizophrenia. And one of the myths was that people don't recover, and people can recover. They can get their health back. I don't know about cured, but if all you have to do is pop a pill and live a healthy lifestyle, that's pretty darn close to a cure. If you ask me, popping a pill is like the ultimate solution to anything.
Yeah, and
It's just
it's
so
great
simple.
though.
You don't. Yeah. So it's as a recovered. I mean, that's a whole other story. My recovery. I can't just sort of gloss over that in a minute. But basically, like when I recovered, I thought, and I'd always wanted to do a trip like that again. And I was in this unique position of already having done the trip and getting through schizophrenia. If I hadn't done the trip already, I don't know if I'd have tackled something like biking across Canada. It's a big thing for anybody to do. And so in 2023, I said, you know what? I think I'm ready to do this. I think I've got the mental health. I think I've got the physical health. And and again, things just kind of snowballed. I started putting the word out there. I want to do this. I think I'm going to do this. And the first sign that I got that I thought maybe I'm on the right track, because you always have these things going through your head. Maybe I shouldn't do this trip. Maybe I should. Maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. You weigh pros and cons. And then I got an income tax refund of $2,000. It was the largest one I've ever gotten. And I thought, maybe that's a sign, because it allowed me to get out to Vancouver with my bike with a decent plan, some camping gear to start. And, it would allow me to get maybe into the prairies. And I just hoped that if people saw me out there actually biking and not just talking about it for the umpteenth time, Matthew's actually out in Hope and, all these places in BC, like he's actually out there biking. Like I was just hoping maybe people would donate to help get me the rest of the way. And my community at home and online, they sent in money to a GoFundMe. And without them, I wouldn't have done the trip. I was ready the whole time. If funds ran out, to hitchhike home and say, look, I tried it. I can't didn't get the funds to do it. But like magic, they just kept pouring in through the trip. And I still get emotional even 2 years later, the fact that they allowed me to do that, because I love doing that trip. It was just so, I love traveling, and to be so sick for so many years, not being able to do stuff like that. And then finally to just get free. I felt like I was just, the doors of my prison opened up and I just bolted, like, I'm going.
He's like, I'm free.
I could have planned it out more and, had more events along the way and, got sponsorships and, had more media interviews, but I just couldn't wait. I'm like, sorry, I just want to go do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so awesome though, man. I mean, you went out there and you're like, well, I don't know if the money's going to be there or not, but we're going to go for this. And that's always great, that the money started coming in for you to continue to do it though, because you could just see the joy in your face when you're talking about it, how great it was and things like that. So man, that's all so great. So what got you into
Thank
mental
you.
health? Now, obviously you had your own issues. Is that what got you to go to like,
Yeah.
hey, maybe I can help other people if I can get this, if I can recover from this, maybe I can help other people recover too.
The disease. So first off, for people struggling with the disease, I want to say one thing, that with treatment, the pain can come down to more manageable levels. It can, and it may not go away to a great level as soon as you want, but it can come down to more manageable levels that will allow you to carry on way longer than you thought you could. Navy SEALs are taught in their training they're capable of 20 times more than they think they are. Not 5%, not 10%, 20 times more than they think they are. And I feel like I was tested in some way with that. So I want to say that first, but then my other audience of people I talk to is people who haven't had mental illness, who don't know what that kind of pain is like over that long period of time, like years we're talking about. It's I use the words, form of torture. It's a form of torture. But I don't want to scare people off it, because it is possible to keep going. So many people, there are millions of people who have schizophrenia, who have mental illness, and every day they get up and they face another day and they keep going and they keep going and they keep going. So it's it's possible to do that. So just say your question again, sorry.
It was, what got you into helping people with mental health issues? I mean, I know
Yeah,
you
yeah.
had your
So
own, but
yeah,
what was that
so
one moment that caused you to turn and be like, hey, listen, I can help other people.
Yeah, so the disease, I said all that because I wanted to point out the disease is very consuming.
Hmm.
It takes a lot of your time and effort just to look after yourself. And many years went by before I started thinking about, maybe. So what I did in around 2000, I got the disease in 1994. In 2000, I started reading books on how to help myself. I went to the bookstore. I was a little nervous going into the self-help section. Oh my gosh, what if somebody sees me in the self-help section back in the year 2000? Now self-help's all over the place, but back then it was a bit of a big step. So I started learning how to help myself. And then in around 2010, I started reading books on how to help other people, how to public speak, how to network, how to build a website, how to get on YouTube, how to get on Facebook, how to fundraise, how to start a nonprofit. So I read a lot of those books for many years, and it wasn't until, well, I made a website in 2018, my website, MindAid.ca, and it wasn't, so I've always, throughout my recovery, I thought, maybe someday if I get better, I might speak at a high school or something, but that's all I really thought about of doing, because my life was so limited in what I could do. But in 2017, I saw this TED Talk by Vikram Patel, and he talked about mental health in developing countries. And I don't know why I never went looking for that, never went researching it, but there's tons of information online. And just to back up, when I was first diagnosed with this disease, I felt myself like I was living in a war zone. I lived in a small town, small sleepy seaside resort town in Eastern Canada on the ocean. But I felt like I was living in a war zone. It was very peaceful, and my heart went out to people in actual war zones, in extreme poverty, with all those other problems you have to deal with, and mental illness as well. I'm like, how do you do that?
Right.
And so years went by and I never went on the internet to look up this stuff. And so anyway, in 2018, I made my website, MindAid.ca, and I realized that there are groups helping the cause. They use models of basic mental health care that are low cost, proven effective, and scalable. But it's a vastly under-resourced cause. These groups are helping thousands of people, but they're still relatively small compared to the larger humanitarian organizations. And they're scattered across the web. And I thought, maybe if I put them on one site to make it easier to find, because it took me a while to find them. And I keep finding more as time goes on. And so my MindAid website is, I've always looked at it as a hub for the cause, like a one-stop shop. If you want to find out how to help, well, here's the organizations helping, choose from these. And it's at its essence, it's a simple curation site. So so that's what sort of progressed with me. I guess the other answer to your question is reading all these books on how to help myself. Many of them said, if you want to help yourself, if you want to do better mentally, help other people. It's so many books were telling me that. So I'm like, well, okay. So it's part of it is to help myself.
Well,
But
that's so cool though.
And I can't sit there. I can't go through that kind of pain for that long and have so many answers, have so many tools in my toolkit, and just keep them at home and never share them. I'm like, people are dying every day. People are suffering horribly with disease, with mental illness, and I can help them. Here's a book. It's as simple as a comment in a Facebook post. This book really helped me. This book was marvelous for me. It helped me get through a lot of things. Maybe it can help you. I can't sit here and not help other people. So.
No, I get that feeling too, because I'm the same way. I'm always about helping other people out, and people always ask me for like different advice. Like, hey, listen, I know this is a subject you're in, so like, with this podcast, like all these people I meet are new contacts I have. Like, I could reach out and ask them, like, hey, listen, I got a question for you. Maybe you can help me direct it. Maybe you can do it. Maybe you can handle it exactly, or you can send me to somebody that can help me. And a lot of times I've done that too. I've reached out to previous guests and say, listen, I had a question for you. Maybe you'll know where I need to go from here. And it's been great because everybody comes to me now and is always asking me questions about stuff. Oh, listen, hey, I got this issue. Okay, let me reach out and ask somebody. Let me find the right thing for you. And I'm always using all my contacts like that too. I'm always suggesting it to other people. I'm a big promoter of mental health awareness itself because I feel like here in the States, we don't talk about it enough. I think it's stigmatized for men, especially because, we as men, we don't talk about things that's clearly noted as, if we look at, the suicide rates and everything like that, it's just like astronomically high. And all it is, it's because a lot of people don't know where to find help or where to get help and things like that too. So that's a great thing about MindAid though, is that, people can look up and see like who's doing what and where they can get these things, because a lot of it's the cost of it is the big problem for a lot of people. It costs a fortune to go see somebody or even get any help and everything like that. But what you're doing is great because you're putting everybody together like, hey, listen, come see me. Everybody's here. We're all here having a big party. Why don't you come on into the party? And you just keep adding more and more and more. And it's great. It's so great that, everything is in one spot, because now I can refer people that are like, hey, listen, go check out this site, and when I get to meet people such as yourself doing things like this, I can use your site now as a different tool. Like, hey, listen, I just found out about this site. Go check it out. What do you think? It'll have everything you need. If you have any questions, let me know, but this should help you, find the things you're looking for, and it's always great when you have a one-stop shop for things, because we have it for everything else, medical insurance, all these other things, but where's the mental health one? And that's where MindAid comes into play, though, is that you have everything right there for everybody. And the fact that these little smaller organizations are doing what they can to help people get access is phenomenal, because I don't think enough people know where to find them. But with MindAid, you've got them all right there ready to go. They're like, here you go. Which one fits in your category, what you need, and all that kind of stuff. So it's really great what you're doing, though. I mean, I think that, you just had an idea. You didn't realize how big this idea was about to get. And then now you're finding out that there's even more that you got. So you're constantly updating it. So you're also staying still relevant, because all these new people keep showing up to help out and everything. So it's great, though, what you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah. On my website too, I've got a list, little section there. It's a list of my best mental health tips. And that's taken me 20, 30 years to make. All the books I've read, all the resources, articles, I've got them listed there. I mean, I've got, I've read way more than what's on that list, but those are my most favorite, my favorite ones.
Yeah.
And I really, if you want to get into my head for tips for mental health, go to that page on my website.
I'm definitely going over to check it out. Every guest that comes on, it has a website. I'm always looking at their websites afterwards, because I'm curious to see what I can learn from them. Because every interview I look at, I'm looking to take something away with it. Now I have MindAid.co. I could use that now in my tool belt. And obviously, I'm going to go see some of your tips too, because never know, something I may something new I may learn that I could use in case I run into a situation, and things like that too. So it's great that we're getting inside the mind of Matthew Dixon. Like this is the guy that creates this site. Like these are his thoughts. These are the things he likes, man. And it's so cool because you don't get a lot of people that share their insight. A lot of people are so closed off because they're like, "Oh, you're gonna steal my ideas." I'm like, but we're trying to help each other in this space. What do you mean?
Yeah. It's like on my site on the on my tips list. One of the ones I talk about a lot is verbal judo. There's a book on it. That's what police officers are trained in to deal with people with words, not weapons.
Yeah.
And it's changed my life dramatically. I've read a lot of people skills books, and that by far has changed most of what I actually do in real life. Verbal judo. It's in my tips list. The other one that was such a game changer for me was the Survivor Personality book by Al Siebert. He studied how people got through the Holocaust, natural disasters, cancer, alcoholism, all sorts of things, and how they developed that mindset to get through and not only just and like thrive on the other side. It's that book. I found that later in my recovery, and I wished why didn't I have this from the very beginning of my recovery? So, but yeah, those two are I share over and over again.
Well, why we have you, let's talk about schizophrenia here, okay? Because a lot of people, I think, get the misconception of what it really is. So, what are some things that people don't know about schizophrenia that they should know? Like we get all these different things, you get all these people say these things, but you actually have it. So we have you here right now. You could tell us you could tell us some things too. You know what I mean? It's great when people come on that have these different conditions because you can ask them, and everybody's experience is different. And I think that's so great of a point is that, everybody's different. Not everybody experiences the same thing. I know a lot of people say like people with schizophrenia start hearing voices and things like all these other misconceptions. So what are some things that people should know, and the second part of the question would be is like, if somebody has schizophrenia, what can someone do better to help them out? Like that way they don't feel like they're, making them feel different. But, because it's such an unknown one for a lot of people. We only see the things that we know. And a lot of people just don't want to go look and do the research. So, we've got you here right now. So maybe you could help us out.
Yeah. So people with schizophrenia, 75% of them have hallucinations. I'm in the 25% that don't have hallucinations. I've never hallucinated. Hallucinations can be any of the five senses, and some of them can actually be quite pleasant. Some people see beautiful things in the sky, but for the most part, they can be relentlessly tormenting. And so that's one of the big ones. Disorganized thinking. It's hard to plan things out sometimes. It's depression and anxiety went along with it with me too. People with schizophrenia will tell you though that even though your thoughts are disorganized, there's still another part of your brain, and it was true for me, that ticks along just fine. Like, what do I want to do today? Do I want to go for a walk? Do I want to have a peanut butter sandwich? Do I want to watch this TV show? Do I want to go back to school? There's all these thoughts that do go through your head, but it's kind of like shouting into a tornado. There's just so much chaos, disorganization, terror in your mind, and it's and you're fighting so hard to get through the day. It's you sort of really. I felt myself really like a soldier. Like, come on, Matthew, another few minutes. Come on, try to hold on. It's this as this horrific storm goes over your life for a long period of time. For what things people can do to help others with schizophrenia, there's a thing called anosognosia, and there's a Dr. Javier Mercador. He's got a TED Talk, and he has a way. It's called leapinstitute.org, and he teaches people how to talk to people who have anosognosia, and when they have that, they don't believe they're sick. And it doesn't have to be for mental illness; it could be for anything. The doctor who discovered anosognosia had a patient whose arm was paralyzed, but the patient did not believe his arm was paralyzed. And that's where the term came about many, many years ago. So a large portion of people with mental illness don't believe they have mental illness. So what Dr. Javier teaches is that he teaches people how to talk to your family member without being confrontational. Because what happens is when one says, I'm not sick, the other says, you are sick, you need help. It just creates a big rift in the family. And so his brother himself, Dr. Yavier, his brother had schizophrenia, and he learned how to talk to his brother to bring him back, get rid of the rift. And his brother actually ended up taking medication and getting better, but he still never believed he was sick. He did it for his family. He got treatment for his family. That's what Dr. Yavier said. So he teaches ways. There's videos, and he teaches people how to talk to your family member without ruffling their feathers. And verbal judo, that's a help too. I'm just throwing that in. He doesn't teach that, but verbal judo is a game changer for me to just stay calm and talk from other people's frame of reference, not yours. Find out where people are and just stay calm. Yeah, it's a big game changer. So that's one thing people can do, is learn how to do that. For people, in general, for trying to help somebody, on my website, again, in my mental health tips list, there's a schizophrenia section there. There's a group in the States called Students with Psychosis. They've got resources there. There's a YouTuber in Alberta, Canada called Living Well. Her channel is called Living Well with Schizophrenia. And there's some other TikTokers and YouTubers I've got listed on my channel. There are resources out there. One thing I will mention, though, is that if you've got someone with schizophrenia in your life, spend time with them. Spend the day with them. Keep them company. We are a lonely group of people. It's hard for us to interact with people sometimes. We can isolate ourselves. It's difficult to pick up the phone and phone somebody. For me, I was, hoping somebody would phone me. It's hard for us. So one of the symptoms of schizophrenia is difficulty self-directing, let alone other directing. It was hard for me to tell people, okay, guys, gather around. I'm going to organize you all. This is what I want. This is what I need from you. This is what it's like for me. This is what I need you to do. I wasn't in the sort of command state of being able to tell people what to do. I just kind of hope people would understand. And people don't ask me a lot of questions about what schizophrenia, what it's like. They don't dig deep into, the symptoms, what's my experience like, and why, I don't know. It could be like, why the war vets from World War I, World War II didn't talk about their experiences much, because it's just so intense. Yeah. I don't know. People might be afraid to get into that sort of conversation with me. It's just too intense, because when you're sitting there feeling like there's a grizzly bear, about to attack you, you yourself with schizophrenia, you're just always in that intense state. And having people involved in that, it's sort of like, I don't know, it could be like, Matthew, I'd like to watch a movie about somebody who survived something horrible, but I wouldn't want to be in that state with them. I'd like to watch a movie of the guy slaying the dragon, but I wouldn't want to be there slaying the dragon with you. There might be an element of that, but it doesn't have to be hard. You don't have to be scared to talk to people about it. Many of us are peaceful people. The vast majority of people with schizophrenia are nonviolent. The stats are people with treated schizophrenia are no more prone to violence than the rest of the general population. And it's hard to define violence. I'd like to start a conversation someday with somebody about violence, because there's just so many aspects to it. There's kicking, biting, scratching, bar fights. There's psychological violence. Mm-hmm. It's not, you hear the word violence, it doesn't have to mean murder, and that's it.
Yeah.
There's lots of aspects to it. But it's if you define violence as 2% of the general population being violent, well, people with schizophrenia are the same. People with untreated schizophrenia can be a bit more violent than the rest of the general population. But, the vast majority of us are peaceful. And when the pandemic happened and we were all in lockdown and we were all doing Zoom, the Students with Psychosis group in the States, they started posting on their Facebook page a photo of their group Zoom with all their student advocates from around the world, students with schizophrenia and psychosis. And for the first time in my life, I started seeing photos of people who had the exact same thing as me. I'm like, wow, that's someone with schizophrenia right there in front of me. All student aged, all younger people, but I'd never seen that. If I told you, what does someone with dementia look like? Well, we get that. We've seen that in movies all the time. A senior citizen who's kind of forgetful. We get that. it's, you know, what does someone with cancer look like? Well, we know what someone with cancer looks like. You know, there's people with cancer all the time, people doing well, people not doing well. And my idea was to have a video or a series of videos with a simple, it could be a very simple video, just a photo of somebody with schizophrenia, headshot. Look, this is Bob, this is Sam, this is Brody, this is Brady. here's what they look like, and here's also what students with psychosis did. They showed they had a little bio sometimes of a person. This is our student advocate in Venezuela, and their name and things they liked, you know, and they all had such a wide variety of interests. You know, we're not all this disheveled homeless person on the sidewalk. Yes, some of us are like that, unfortunately, but there's a lot of others out there who are in your workplace and you don't know it. You know, exactly. It's I don't know how many people I've walked by in my life who've had schizophrenia and I had no idea. It's yeah, so it's simply but whenever I say I've got schizophrenia, I'm very open about it. I sniff people out at first, like in the workplace, for example. If someone new comes in and I have to work with them, I sniff them out at first, but then pretty soon into the conversation, I just find myself saying it. And it's such a relief to get that off my chest. And, you know, nobody gives me a hard time. You know, it's people, so many people, so many, still like 30 years plus into this disease, I still have people saying, when I tell them I have schizophrenia, they say, I don't know much about it, and or I know someone who has it. A lot of us know someone who has it. And, you know, it's the stats are about roughly 1% of the population has it. Could be a bit more, could be a bit less, depending on the studies, but roughly about 1%. So it's not a lot of people, but, you know, with 8 billion people worldwide, that's 80 million people. That's like 2 Canadas. And, you know, we're all sort of hiding, you know, it's, and I'd love, and you go looking for mental health advocates online. And that's what I do. I find other mental health advocates and friend them on Facebook. I have a lot of friends on Facebook for mental health advocates, not so many for schizophrenia advocates. I'd love to see more. I'd love to have people not be afraid to talk about it. I love talking about it. It's, you can, it's hard to get me to shut up about it.
But you're not wrong though. But you're not wrong. Not enough people are talking about it. Not enough people know about it. I think that's the thing is people don't know enough. They're scared. And then it's like, I know this is going to sound fucked up what I'm about to say, but if you compare it to like people that are transgender, if you ask them questions too, you can ask them questions all day. They'll answer your questions for you. Just don't like be an asshole and start asking stupid shit to them, obviously, you know, but it's the same thing. You can ask people with schizophrenia questions about it. Hey, listen, I don't know much. Can you educate me some more? You know, and anytime I meet somebody with something like any kind of different disease I've never heard of, I'm like, yeah, tell me more about it. Like, let me know more about it. I'm like, I'm curious. What is it like for you? Because that's the first thing I always ask you. So can I ask you what your perspective is? It's like, what is it like having it for you? Because I'm always fascinated to see what it is everybody has. Like BPD has been a big one. I've been running into a lot of people, but each person experiences it in a different way. And it's so fascinating to me because I'm like, hey, listen, can I ask you a question? And they're like, usually they're really cool because they understand I'm asking because I want to know. Like a lot of people already know what I do, but some people don't. I tell them, listen, I run a mental health podcast. The reason I'm asking these questions is because I'm curious for myself. I meet a lot of people and I'm just interested to see what your perspective is and what it's like for you to have these things. And a lot of people are like, oh, okay, that makes sense. You know what I mean? They ease off a little bit because they just think it's weird when I find out stuff and I just start asking questions. But I make sure I clarify, like, listen, I'm asking for myself. I'm a very curious person. I do this podcast and I love meeting other people with different diagnoses of things so I can get a better understanding of what they deal with and like what it's like. And like we've had someone else on the show that had schizophrenia as well. And he said the same thing. He was in the 24%. He didn't have hallucinations either. So it's like people that make these assumptions, it just kind of makes me mad because it's like, but did you ask them about it? Or did you just look at them and go, okay, well, they're crazy. I don't want to talk to them. Like you're quick to judge people instead of going over and just being more curious about it and asking them like, hey, listen, can you tell me a little more about what it is you deal with every day, you know, and just kind of educate yourself, you know, and I love it. I love what those kids are doing, man. Honestly, I want to reach out to them and see about having them on the show and we can talk more about it. with them, because I'd love to know like how they even started all that, and all the things they're doing. I just want to highlight what these kids are doing, because those kids that young having that conversation now is what we need more of. We need more people like them to start continuing the conversation earlier versus later. So that way we can start addressing a lot of things, and I love what they're doing. So I'm definitely going to be reaching out to them to see if I can get a hold of somebody, see if maybe one of them would want to come on and talk about it, because I love it. I think it's great. I think that we need more groups like that, like you were saying, like, like more people advocate for schizophrenia as well. Stand out there and don't be afraid to be different from everybody else. Start a conversation about something. Yes, it'll probably be uncomfortable at first for people, but all you're doing is you're educating these people. Like, hey, listen, this is not what it looks like. TV and movies are great, but they tend to take things and run with them a little bit in some of them, and it's not what it actually is like. This is what it's more like, what was it? Multiple personality disorder was one of the ones that was very interesting too, because it's like, it's not what it seems, guys. Like, it's not 15 different. Well, some people do have that case. Okay. There's extreme cases where there are some, but no, they changed it to DID instead. But it was like, it's because it wasn't really that they have different personalities. It's just like little tweaks in their personality that that would happen. And like, we've had somebody on the show that had it. And if you watch her, she's talking and you're just watching the little things change, and I'm noticing it as I'm watching it. She's talking, you can change the tone of her voice, changes the way she starts acting, the way her facial expressions, things like that. All those things are showing you different things that you'll see.
Okay. Yeah. Schizophrenia was often talked about being a split personality, which it isn't. It's like you say, split personality and multiple personality does exist. But schizophrenia is not that. It's I wanted to point that out. You mean the students with psychosis? What you'd like to have them on the
definitely? I'd love them to come on and be a guest on the show. We can talk about it.
Yeah, the founder of that is Cecilia. I think her last name is you pronounce it McGough. I think it's McGough. It's McGough. And she's got a TED Talk. It's called Schizophrenia, I Am Not a Monster. And she started that. Yeah. So it's, one more thing on schizophrenia and sort of getting the word out about it more. When I biked across Canada the second time, I put on some small events along the way and got a group of 7, 8, 9 people together here and there. And one of the things I did was we're in a public park setting or something, somewhere in public, just meeting, summertime, people around, and chatted about mental health. And I thought, this is great. I get to meet other people along the way. Isn't this wonderful? And at the end, what I'd do is I'd say, okay, everybody, on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, and we all shouted schizophrenia into the, just like that, where, in a public setting where other people could hear. And one of my family members says, I love that. He still talks, but he said, oh, Matthew, it's so great when you did that. I thought, maybe I should make it into like a hashtag sort of thing that people could do where they are anywhere in the world. So I'll just mention it here. I haven't run with it, but if anyone wants to do that, get some people together and shout schizophrenia, film it, hashtag it, something. I don't know, shout schizophrenia or something.
That'd be pretty cool, though. I think that'd be great, and it's cool when you get to meet other people with the same disease you have too, because then they don't feel so alone. Like you said, you guys were very lonely people, and things.
Well,
like
not all.
Too.
I'm guessing not all of us were lonely, but I'm sure it's certainly a trend. I've suffered with loneliness. It's
but you know what it is though, because as people are so afraid, they don't know what to do in those situations and things like that too. But it's so great that you're so open to talk about it, because then people can learn things, and hopefully there's more people that start coming out after seeing this interview and go like, hey, listen, I've got it too, and start banding together and just try to make it so people understand what it is and not make it to be so monster sized as something so horrible.
Yeah, like it's intense for me going through it, but I want people to come up and ask me, I want people to spend the day with me. I want people to make me laugh, tell me a joke. It's your days don't always have to be intense. It's like when the tsunami hit Japan, I read an article, a journalist went over to see what was going on, and he saw the Japanese people cleaning up this mess. And he said it was a paradoxical sort of situation where this horrible mess they're trying to clean up. But he said they still just wanted to have the pleasantries of everyday life, like, hi, how are you? And just common, normal chit chat sort of thing through their day. And I was the same way with schizophrenia. Yeah, I'm living I'm in an intense pain right here, but, tell me a joke, can we watch, The Simpsons or whatever,
Right.
it's,
Exactly.
tell me a joke, go for a walk, let's, talk about something. I've got interest myself too. Like, I don't talk about just schizophrenia. I've got other interests that I've always had, interest in the environment, interest in, nature and exercise. And, it's, yeah, I can talk about other things. And sometimes I want to talk about these other things. Sometimes I don't want to talk about schizophrenia, and just sort of feel it out, it's, and don't be afraid to spend time with us. It's, I haven't met a lot of people with schizophrenia. I haven't, I guess when I was sort of ready to do my advocacy work, like around 2018, soon after the pandemic happened and lockdown, and it was harder to go out and meet people. So I was doing more things virtually. But I would love to meet more people with schizophrenia. I have met some, and it's wonderful. I'm tearing up right now, to meet other people with the same thing as me. So it's yeah, I'm not, just because I've recovered and doing well, that doesn't mean that's the be all or end all. There's lots of Brandon Staglin has schizophrenia. He's in California. His dad, Garen Staglin, together they put on this huge gala concert to raise millions of dollars for mental health research. And they have, Brandon said, I've got schizophrenia. I still have symptoms, but I really enjoy my life. He's thankful for his disease. It's taught him so much. There are ways to be happy with life, even though you may not feel the best. There's reasons to live. There's reasons to be here. There's all sorts of reasons to be here. And there's a book that I read, and it said the author went to visit an Olympic diver, and he'd had a fall, and he was paralyzed. He was a quadriplegic, and he went to visit him in his house. His life went from Olympic athlete to in bed, having his parents having to do everything for him. And you could tell it was hard on him. He went to interview him, sat in his bed, and when it was time for him to leave, he could tell the athlete didn't want him to go. Like, he's like, please don't leave me. You're like my tie to the outside world sort of thing. It's, and then the author went and visited him years later. And he said, there's just more peace in him. He said, he talked to him, interviewed him again. And when it was time to go, he said, see ya. He'd made more peace with his situation. And for me, I was always improving. Every single week I noticed an improvement. So I never plateaued, and it never let me settle and say, okay, this is the best I'm going to get. I just kept fighting and saying, maybe I kept, carrot in front of the donkey sort of thing. I kept going after it. And it's, so I don't know what it's like to be in a state that's not going to change, or hasn't changed for a long time. I don't know what that's like. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. And the other thing is, they can maybe someday find a cure. And I tell people, with when you're mentally ill and depressed, it's hard to think positively about things. I remember for years thinking, this is a horrible disease. They might not ever find a cure, and this is the way I'll be for the rest of my life. You don't know that. Yes, I got on a medication. Yes, it took a long time to get better. But there are so many people who every day go to work trying to find a cure. They're working on this, and there are people who have your best interests at heart. Yes, you may say, people have ignored me. Yes, my housing situation isn't the best. Yes, I don't have enough money. Why do people do this to us when we're suffering the most? Why do they not give us our basic needs? Why? It's cruel. And but there are people trying to help you, even though you may never meet them. But they're working on a cure, and you never know. If we were like in 1950, it could be a long time before research into the brain came our way. But research into the brain is just phenomenal. The last 10, 20 years, whatever it's been, look at all the stuff we found out about the brain, and we keep finding more. We're going to keep out finding more. So, we see news headlines all the time, discovery of this, discovery of that, discovery of this, discovery of that. Well, one of these days you might just wake up and say, read this headline, cure for schizophrenia found, go to your doctor now and get it. It's, and then, so it's, don't give up. You never know. You never know what the future may bring. The future isn't written. The future is not written. Some people believe that destiny and that everything's all planned out ahead of time, and maybe it is. But if it is, we still don't know it. We don't know what the destiny is. We still, we don't know what's planned for us. It's so just stay hopeful. You never know what tomorrow may bring. You never know.
I love it. Thank you so much, Matthew. Guys, we got to start wrapping up. I know Matthew's out of time limit there. So we're going to start wrapping things up real quick, Matthew. Before we start letting you go, we have to ask you the all-important question. If you could break the stigma about mental health, anything that you hear every day that you just want to say, hey, stupid, stop saying these things, what would you tell someone?
About mental health in general?
Yes, sir.
Let me see. To break the stigma. It's just have conversations. Really, just have conversations with people. It's it's basic human connection is having a conversation with somebody, and it's if talk about it with people, bring it up in a conversation. If you talk to me, if you've watched my conversations online, in person, over so many years, oh, hi, Matthew, how are you? Oh, pretty good. Did you see that movie yesterday? And what do you do? You watch my conversation. I will, at some point, not always, but fairly often, try to work that into a conversation. The word schizophrenia, and then that steers, I can steer that down a whole another path. It's read books on people skills, how to have conversations. There's a great book by David Topus called Talk to Strangers. He talks about how he just approaches strangers, makes friends, makes business connections. He actually flies around North America to meet people. He takes the longest route possible. He doesn't go to conferences. I mean, maybe sometimes he does, but he does that simply to meet people, because he just meets strangers and does more business that way. He does more business that way than he does living at home. Learn how to talk to people, how to break the ice. One thing I've been doing lately is simply saying hi to people on the street as they walk by. It's as simple as that. At first, I was outside my comfort zone. It was uncomfortable, but a simple hi, a look in the eye, you don't even stop your paces. You keep going at the same rate. It doesn't take a second out of your day. And a simple hi, but it didn't take long for it to feel very natural, very genuine. When people say hi, so many people say hi back. Maybe they can't hear you, they're hard of hearing, or they're thinking about something else. So many people say hi back, though. So many. And it's a very nice, very quick, very human, I see you. I see you. And it's so simple to do. It's not out of the ordinary. If you're in a crowded place with people all around and you're saying, hi, 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 that's a bit, I'm not going to do that. But, if someone's passing on the street, no one's, within 20 feet or whatever, hi. And it feels so natural. And it's just a tiny little thing you can do in someone's day to have someone feel that they've been seen, being heard.
Exactly.
A lot of us don't have anyone. People go to the grocery store and, talking to the cashier is their main conversation for the whole day. They don't have anybody at home. So.
Exactly. And guys, with that being said, this episode of Pete First Anxiety, we're going to start signing off. Matthew, thank you so much for coming, man. I had a great time. Guys, go check out MindAid.co. It's got a great website, resource for everything. .ca. Matthew is constantly updating it, and go check out his mental health tips. He's got them all in there. He spent some time reading all these books, and he's going to give you a little bit of nuggets of knowledge, guys. And as always, I say I'm Pete First Anxiety. I'm on X all the way down to TikTok. I'm on Spotify all the way down to iHeartRadio. And as I always say, it costs nothing, absolutely nothing to be kind to somebody. One kind act you can do can save someone's life, or hell, you can even make their day. I'm Pete First Anxiety signing off saying, don't ask how your day is today. Say, hey, how's your mental health today?